2024, and welcome to LCJ Live. We have a new #1 movie, a controversial movie. It is Civil War, Alex Garland's latest for A24, with a record opening weekend for A24 of $25.7 million. That's a little better than I thought it was going to do. I had this at $20 million and it made 25.7. A24 is thrilled. I'm sure they even would have taken 24 for A24 in 2024. I'm sure they would have taken that this weekend. Look, Civil War, I don't think it's a very good film. I think it's a terrible look at journalism. I think it's a horrible character study with some of the sappiest, goofiest, eye-roll moment dialogue and a couple situations and just, oh my gosh. It's not a very good film. It's not structurally good. The performances, cringy performance from Kaylee Spaney, who was so good as Priscilla last year. Kirsten Dunst tries a little bit early on, but falls into the traps of the script, which gets dumber and dumber as the movie goes on. Not a fan of Civil War. Did you see Civil War? If you're watching live here on YouTube, thank you. And you can send in your questions and your comments here for LCJ Live. Coming up, I'm going to talk about The Fall Guy, that SNL monologue last night. Going to talk about some other big movies. Award season is not yet over. We're going to mention that as well. And more of my thoughts on some other big movies. I've got Shrek and Fiona here with me for today's episode of LCJ Live because Shrek 2 returned to theaters this weekend, earning $1.4 million for Universal and DreamWorks. Of course, remember, back in 2004, this was a pure DreamWorks Pictures release. Paramount then soon jumped in about 2006 for the DreamWorks animation movies, but now it's all Universal. Remember, Shrek the Third was a Paramount movie, Shrek Forever After, but now Universal putting out the re-release of Shrek 2 now that they're with DreamWorks. Question is, are we going to get Shrek 5? When is it happening? What is going on with Shrek 5? I thought maybe if you paid money and were treated to Shrek 2 in theaters this weekend, that maybe there would be a teaser for Shrek 5. That would have been fun. But I don't think that happened. But maybe we'll see something online pretty soon. I remember talking with the late Kelly Asbury, who co-directed Shrek 2 a few years ago before he passed away. Rest in peace to Kelly Asbury. And I asked him about Jennifer Saunders as the fairy godmother, doing that, holding out for a hero performance, which is one of the most iconic musical numbers in an animated film of all time. And he said he was not at that specific recording. However, he was blown away by Jennifer Saunders' performance. Pretty amazing. And that has stood for the last 20 years out as one of the great musical numbers ever in an animated motion picture. Speaking of animation and motion and action, Godzilla X Kong, The New Empire, with all those visual effects, all that CG, added $15.5 million this weekend. It's at $157.9 for Warner Brothers. In third this weekend, who are you going to call for some family entertainment right now? Ghostbusters Frozen Empire added $5.8 million. It's at $97 for Sony. So it's going to hit $100 million, but it is not going to get to that $130 that the goal was there for Sony to have this Ghostbusters movie do better than the last two. Even though I still think, like I just said, families need content. And they would rather, I think it's easier, believe it or not, to actually go to a movie theater than it is to try to pay for something on a digital or service like Kung Fu Panda 4. Kung Fu Panda 4 made another $5.5 million this weekend. It's at $173.7. And that's on digital now. That's on pay-per-view now. Video on demand. But families still want to get out of the house and go to the movies. And Kung Fu Panda 4 now inching closer to that $185.5 of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish. I think it's going to be pretty close. I think Kung Fu Panda 4 is definitely at this point going to get over $180 million. And we're going to see probably a Kung Fu Panda 5 or more adventures with Po the Panda and the gang coming from DreamWorks. Let's see. Another movie that made some money this weekend. How about Dune Part 2? $4.3 million. It is at $272.1. I don't think it's going to get to $300 million at this point. Probably $280. Maybe Warner had a goal of, if it does really well, we get it to $300. Not the $330 of Oppenheimer. Remember, it was matching Oppenheimer beat for beat pretty much with the weekend grosses. Not as much with the during the week grosses. And now it's falling a little further behind. So it's not going to get to $300 million or $330, but still a major success story for Warner Brothers. Monkey Man, which was in second last weekend, dropped to sixth this weekend. Woo! Down to $4.1 million. It's at $17.8. Should Netflix have kept it? I don't know. It at least made a little money here, but was it worth the big fuss to make sure this was a theatrical experience? I still haven't seen Monkey Man. I'll get to it at some point, but not making a ton of money. Next up is The First Omen, which added 3.8 million. It's at 14.6. Now, Immaculate is at 15.3 million right now for Neon. That added about a half a million this weekend. And these are two very similar movies. A lot of horror movies in theaters right now. It's an overcrowded market for horror movies, and I think maybe some people are starting to finally see that. You've had breakthroughs like Late Night with the Devil, which is up to 9.3 million domestically, made another half a million this weekend as well. But the two similar movies, Immaculate and First Omen. First Omen's going to end up making more money than Immaculate, but probably not as much as Disney and 20th Century thought it was going to do. You got a few other movies outside the top 10 or in the back of the top 10. We're still waiting for some money on some movies like Sugar and Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead, but I can tell you that besides the Shrek 2 re-release getting 1.4 million, The Long Game, the Jay Hernandez, Dennis Quaid, Cheech Marin sports movie, which I thought is okay. It's average, which is too bad. It's a golf movie. It's pretty standard, and it gets silly in places it didn't need to. 1.4 million as well for The Long Game this weekend. We are also waiting on the money for a horror movie called Sting, which made 487,000 on Friday. Maybe it'll get into the top 10. Did it get close to that 1.4? Those results will probably arrive later today or tomorrow. But yeah, you had a lot of movies, new movies this weekend, smaller, like that Don't Tell Mom the Babysitter's Dead new version, like Arcadian with Nicolas Cage, which only managed 481,000 for the weekend gross. Not great. And then Wicked Little Letters probably fell a little bit, down to maybe a little under a million. Same thing with Someone Like You, that romance drama that Fathom Events opened that started with 3 million last weekend, only made $849,000 this weekend. That's a big drop. It's at 4.9 million total. Arthur the King, the Mark Wahlberg movie, also still bringing in some families. 840,000 this weekend. It's at 23.6 for Lionsgate. Still not quite as much money as the horror movie Imaginary, which is up to 27.8 for Lionsgate. There are big movies out this coming weekend, but I want to mention one that's now available to watch at home and is already doing really well. That's Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp. I like this. My good friend, my boss at Animation Scoop, Jerry Beck, sent me this as a postcard. It's Woody Woodpecker. I like it a lot. The Woody Woodpecker Goes to Camp movie, featuring the voice of Eric Bauza as Woody Woodpecker, is doing really well right now for families on Netflix. We got a comment from Scott Stallion. Do you have an AMC with a Dolby Cinema near you? Recently started going in. Wow, crazy good picture and sound. There is one AMC a little bit near me. Otherwise, I got to drive about a couple hours to get to an AMC besides the one. I think it got converted into a Dolby. It used to actually be a Bowtie Cinemas, and now they're into Scene 1 Entertainment. This became the AMC, talking about the horse racing capital of the country, Saratoga Springs, New York. And I think it got converted to a Dolby, but I haven't been in there yet to fully experience that, but hopefully the picture and sound is good. Cool that you're experiencing the great picture and sound of Dolby. I've been by some other AMC theaters and have seen them have the Dolby theaters and the Prime. It might have gotten converted to a Prime. I have to figure that out, but that is very cool that you have experienced that. So some movies that are coming this weekend that are going to challenge Civil War Week 2. One is The Ministry of Ungentlemanly Warfare, yet another Guy Ritchie movie. Action film. Henry Cavill's in this, some other people. And it screened nationwide pay previews last night. I did not go, had some other things going on, but some people went to see it last night. That money will go into the Thursday, Friday total, and we'll see how much that makes for Lionsgate this coming weekend. Also, an anime film that I think is terrific. I really think this is an entertaining movie. Spy X Family, Code White. If you've heard of the Spy X Family TV series, animated show, and then you've got these characters in this feature-length but standalone adventure, which is really cool because I hadn't watched the show, but I got to see this movie the other night, and wow, it is fun. You basically have this family, but you've got the mother and the father who are married for the purposes of their missions, but they don't know that each other is a spy. And then you've got the daughter who can read minds. Oh, she's great. Anya. She has the best dialogue. She talks in the third person like Regis. She always says Anya is here. Like whenever Regis used to go into a restaurant, Regis is here. And Anya does that. It's great. And then you've got the dog. The dog's name is Bond. How funny. The dog's name is Bond, and he can predict the future. So that's a great hook. And then you've got this escapade, a few series of escapades, and then half the movie actually takes place in one location. I won't tell you what that is. But the way it's done, the visual effects, the animation, the choreography of these sequences of these animated characters, and the humor and the entertainment value, there are some really wild surprises in this. Spy X Family Code White, it opens this weekend. Go see it. And I think it's one of the most entertaining movies of 2024 so far. And anime movies have particularly done well these last couple years. So I think it's going to do pretty well this weekend. It's going to have a dubbed version and a subtitled version. I saw the subtitled version. I wanted the original actors and their voice performances, and I tend to like that. Sometimes I've done the dubbed version, but I tend to like the original version of something, and reading the subtitles I'm good with in this case, and I enjoyed the voice performances, the timing of the dialogue, and the writing. It's really good. Spy X Family Code White, go see it in theaters this weekend. Now, Sasquatch Sunset goes nationwide. This is a Bleecker Street movie. Jesse Eisenberg getting a lot of attention. The Sasquatch outfits. And it opened in 9 theaters this weekend with $93,000. That's a $10,000 plus per screen average. More than the per screen average of Civil War. Now, Civil War was in many, many, many more theaters, but Sasquatch Sunset with a higher per screen average. Maybe not the biggest per screen average of all time, but still over $10,000. And Sasquatch Sunset goes nationwide this weekend. We'll see how much it makes for Bleecker Street. Also, another new horror movie. It's Abigail from Universal. Here comes Universal with another horror movie. We've already had a bunch lately of horror films. Universal, of course, a lot of times with Blumhouse making horror movies. And you've got Abigail. Catherine Newton is in this. She was just in Lisa Frankenstein from Focus Features. Abigail, we'll see how much it makes. Could that be the #1 movie? It'll be interesting. The battle between, frankly, Sasquatch Sunset's only going to make a little. Abigail versus Ungentlemanly Warfare versus Spy X Family, which could surprise if a lot of people are interested in it and want to go. I will say this, by the way, Spy X Family is PG-13, so it is not a complete take the kids experience. There's some language, there's some violence, there's some situations, some thematic, more mature material. It's not for young kids. I think if you're over 10 or 11, probably be okay with it, but don't take the under 10 crowd to Spy X Family. But a lot of anime fans of all ages, that could surprise with 10 or 12 million. Warfare could be an 8 to 12 million unless it completely flops. And then you've got week 2 of Civil War. This could be a good battle for the second half of April. If everybody wanted to go see Civil War right away, then you're not going to have a strong week 2. You could see this go down to $8 or $9 million. Or people want to see it a second time where they missed out on it, whatever the case may be, they're curious about it. You could see this do another 10, 11, 12 million dollars. So it'll be interesting which comes out on top. I'm not quite sure at this point which movie's going to be #1, but you could have a solid top 4 next weekend that all make over $10 million. You could have Civil War, Ungentlemanly Warfare, Spy X Family, and Abigail all do over $10 million. And then Godzilla X Con drops to like 8. That's not bad. For April, not bad at all. Then Challengers arrives for the 22nd, and then we're into summertime. And that's a good segue into The Fall Guy, which kicks off the summer movie season on May 3rd. We are not far away from that. And last night on Saturday Night Live, you had host Ryan Gosling and his Fall Guy co-star Emily Blunt. One of the smartest SNL monologues in a long time. They came out with a rendition of Taylor Swift's All Too Well, talking about saying goodbye to Barbenheimer. Of course, they were in Barbenheimer. They did that great Oscars bit as well. And why I say it's one of the smartest is not only you have these 2 actors who are terrific, and hopefully this movie is good, and they're doing so well with this marketing campaign so far for The Fall Guy, which will only continue over the next few weeks, but it was a political, free monologue from Saturday Night Live. Wow. And it was not trying too hard. There was thought put into the dialogue. there was thought and care put into the props that they used. It wasn't ridiculous. It actually made sense. It was over the top, but it made sense of why it needed to be that way. And they did a great job with it. So I applaud SNL, a show that I've had a love-hate relationship with over the years. Because sometimes they get it right, and sometimes they've gotten it completely wrong. Whether you talk about the political material or you talk about the movie material. I mean, I thought it was terrible that they made fun of Vin Diesel for talking about, family and the theatrical experience when it's an NBC Universal show and Vin Diesel was promoting the theatrical experience when people needed to go back and support the theaters in summer 2021 when the theaters were dying and needed people to show up. And here was SNL doing that. And so now they've pivoted and they did that, the AMC Theaters bit, and now they pivoted a little to, we understand what Barbenheimer was to the movie theaters. We understand that Barbenheimer was the phenomenon. It is time to say goodbye and move on. Well, we respect Barbenheimer. We respect what it did for popular culture and for movie theaters. So, good job, SNL. Keep it up in that regard. We'll see what goes on the rest of this year. But that was a good monologue. Emily and Ryan, who are killing it with the marketing campaign of The Fall Guy. Now, this week I've got some great new interviews that are arriving. One is with the director and producer of Inside Out 2, Kelsey Mann and Mark Nielsen. And that is arriving on Tuesday. So look for that on Tuesday, animationscoop.com, and on YouTube, youtube.com/lightscamerajackson. Be sure to subscribe, by the way, to the channel and like this video, and you will be notified when I go live every Sunday for LCJ Live, as well as the new video that's going up Tuesday, my on-camera conversation from Pixar with the director and the producer of Inside Out 2. We have a great conversation about this new Pixar sequel, which I've had the chance to see 30 minutes of. I saw 30 minutes straight through. They had very little left to do on it. It opens June 14th, and that interview arrives Tuesday. Tomorrow, new LCJ Q&A podcast episode with Adam Groh, the host of Cash Cab Music, which you can watch on Access TV, and the classic Cash Cab Canada episodes as well. Had a great conversation with him, all about how he got the gig for Cash Cab, this new music spin-off show, which is awesome. Some behind-the-scenes details and secrets of making Cash Cab music. So if you're a game show fan, you're going to love this. lcj.podbean.com. I'll be linking it on socials as well. New LCJ Q&A with Adam Groh arrives tomorrow. If you're on the Podbean page, check out my conversation with Rich Magallanes for the new Dora series that started a couple days ago on Paramount+. Great conversation with him. And as well as Puffin' Rock and the New Friends, which comes out on digital this Tuesday. I talked with Lorraine Lorden and Jeremy Purcell, the animation director and director of Cartoon Saloon's latest feature, Puffin' Rock and the New Friends, a continuation of the Puffin' Rock TV series that is available on digital platforms to rent and purchase starting this Tuesday, April 16th. And Animation Scoop Q&A as well with the makers of Chicken for Linda. This is an animated film that has been out for a week or two now in theaters. It won big awards at Annecy last year, and now G-Kids has put it out in theaters. So my Animation Scoop Q&A with the makers of Chicken for Linda is also available at animationscoop.com. Tonight is the Writers Guild of America Awards. Can you believe it? Award season's not quite over. Remember, the WGA decided, because of the strikes and submission dates, that they intentionally decided to go after the Oscars. In fact, so far after, it's been more than a month since the Academy Awards. But we have the WGA Awards tonight, and your nominees for original screenplay are Air, Barbie, The Holdovers, May, December, and Past Lives. Your nominees for adapted screenplay are American Fiction, which won the Oscar, Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret, Killers of the Flower Moon, Naiad, and Oppenheimer. So, there you go. You don't have Anatomy of a Fall in there for original screenplay. That won the Oscar, but you do have American Fiction. I believe American Fiction is also getting a special award tonight from them. So we'll see what happens. Good luck to Kelly Freeman Craig, nominated for Are You There, God? It's Me, Margaret. She passed guest on the LCJ Q&A podcast. And we've got some other big movies and some of the Academy Award nominees and winners. You have Barbie in the original screenplay category, even though the Oscars forced it into adapted. So we'll see what happens with that. But gosh, I think for the majority of moviegoers and movie fans, we've moved on. I mean, they're already talking about, could Civil War get some nominations? Could Zendaya get a nomination next year for challengers? We're 9 months away from the Oscars. They announced the date of the Oscars. I was correct in predicting March 2nd, avoiding the daylight savings time weekend again. And the nominations will be announced on a Friday. Yeah, Friday morning, January 17, 2025, will be the Academy Awards nominations. Friday, it's unique. We've had a Monday morning sometimes. We've had Tuesday mornings. I think we've had Thursday mornings as well. But a Friday morning for the Oscar nominations, they clearly want to dominate the headlines. So we're 9 months away. So let's take a breather. Yes, we're moving on. We're thinking about things already. But, we're 9 months away from the Academy Awards nominations. A lot can happen in 9 months. And a lot can happen over 6 years. And I'm thrilled to announce today that we are celebrating 6 years of LCJ Live, which began tomorrow, tax day, April 15, 2018. Thank you for celebrating the 6th anniversary of LCJ Live here with me. Thank you for watching these episodes. You want to go back and watch past episodes of LCJ Live, they've got their own playlist here on the YouTube channel, youtube.com/lightscamerajackson. Be sure to like and subscribe. Follow me on Twitter X at LCJ Reviews, Instagram at lightscamjackson, and the website is lights-camera-jackson.com. Appreciate you being here on a Sunday at noon when we're back here next Sunday at noon Eastern, live for LCJ Live. We'll see which movie of the 4 is number 1. We will preview challengers and more movies opening for the end of April, and we are almost there for the summer movie season. Plus, we've got some other cool shows and movies on the way. So a lot to talk about next Sunday. I will see you then. For now, have a good day. Take care. I'm Lights Camera Jackson. Happy 6 years of LCJ Live. Bye-bye.